They went together. Person's there? Yes, fine. To God be the glory forever and ever. Amen. I will want to say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish us a very pleasant evening. Senator Ben Bruce, this your Oyibo setting may not work with me, where I will be confined to the microphone as a newscaster. I may need to move around. So this organized Oyibo setting may not work for this presentation. I'm very delighted to be here this evening to speak on a topic that I've been given: separation of powers. Without belaboring us with unnecessary commentaries, rhetorics, or stories, I want to say that I'm particularly very excited to be here and to support Senator Maury Ben Bruce, that I've described as one single Nigerian with multiple competencies, Mr. Common Sense. I am particularly very proud of him. Please, can we give him a round of applause? If you speak the truth, you will die. If you lie, you will die. I have chosen to speak the truth and die. Let me first thank Silverbird and its distinguished founder, my brother and Nigerian Senator Common Sense Ben Maury Bruce. It is an honor to be so recognized and a privilege to speak among great Nigerians and champion of democracy, especially with the political mathematician Atiku Abubakar in the hall. Some of whom fought tyranny and dictatorship and midwife institutions of our democracy and the separation of powers in government today. As Thomas Jefferson, one of the America's founding fathers, said, the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots, such as Papa Alfred Ruin, Kudirat Abiola, Shehu Musa Yaradua, and of course, Kenule Saro-Wiwa, to mention but a few martyrs of Nigerian democracy. And the countless Nigerians who died or who were maimed opposing tyranny, injustice, and corruption. My respect and tribute and solidarity to them forever. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, indeed, liberty or freedom, as we call it today, is the touchstone upon which the principle of separation of powers rests in a constitution, as another American founding fathers, Alex Hamilton, said, and I quote, "Good constitutions are formed upon a comparison of the liberty of individuals with the strength of government. If the tone of either be too high or the other will be weakened too much, it is the happiest possible mode of conciliating these objectives to institute one branch particularly endowed with sensibility, another with the knowledge and fairness. Though the opposition and mutual control of these bodies, the government will reach in regular operations the perfect balance between liberty and power." My distinguished audience, Malam Aminu Kano put this big grammar in language anyone can understand. And Malam Aminu Kano said, "I am more interested in the purpose of government than its mechanics, though the means should at least be good enough to lead to the end desired. Indeed, the American Revolution was an act of rebellion against the tyranny, even if it was constituted authority of a king allegedly anointed by God. The king conveniently forgot Christ's injunction separating church and the state to give what is for Caesar to Caesar and what is for God to God. Rebellion in itself, a conclusive act of rejection. It seems freedom from something more than freedom from something. This raises two questions. Firstly, what are the implications for the separation of powers in Nigeria? Secondly, what next for the citizen in a hyper-connected world? My presentation will be around these two questions. The first question I said is, what is the implication for the separation of powers in Nigeria? And the second is, what next for the citizen in a hyper-connected world? To answer both questions, let me first state categorically that proper application and implementation of the separation of powers and the functions of government in our Constitution, if applied creatively and constructively to empower the people, will be a vector for growth and inclusion and lead to the Nigeria our forefathers and founding fathers like Malam Aminu Kano will be proud of to have created. A Nigeria where every Nigerian is valued, create values for himself and his country, and lives being shared values. Nigerians all hold dear that all men are endowed by God Almighty who created them, not only with rights, but with weighty responsibilities, and that government exists to serve the governed and not the people in government. I repeat, government exists to serve the governed and not the people in government. It is trite but true, truer now than it has ever been. Today, citizens, what we have is not exactly democracy. Democracy will continue to be government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Never will we allow democracy to become greediocracy, government of the greedy, by the greedy, and for the greedy. It is indeed truer now because, as New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman observed, when technology and social change happens much faster than institution and system or beliefs that can be, you get a disruption. We stand at the greatest inflection point of our history since the colonial first appeared on our lands and drew the map we recognize today as Nigeria. These inflection points come at a time when the forces of technology, globalization, and climate change are causing rapid, immense, and disruptive changes that humans are struggling to keep pace with, and governments around the world are struggling to catch up with. The implication for the separation of powers in Nigeria, not to alarm anyone, may be existential. We, as representatives of the people, must, before talking about the separation of powers, begin to ask ourselves if we have separated ourselves from the satanic manifestation of recent times. When a man is guilty of an offense in power and you refuse to punish him, it's an abuse of the principle of the separation of powers. When a legislator knows the truth about a situation and refuses to question it, it is an abuse against the powers of the separation of powers. When a secretary of government will cut grass for over 200 million and his principal refused to sack him, it's an abuse of the separation of powers. As more technology drives more globalization, and more globalization drives more climate change, it seems that our problems grow exponentially. Our government appears powerless, or worse still, clueless to direct, manage, or prevent the frenetic pace of change. The solution to our many problems lie in ourselves. Our wits, the wisdom and knowledge we have learned from our ancestors, forefathers, and founding fathers, together with the universe of information that is available to each Nigerian at a click of a button. All this puts our generation of Nigeria in a better position technologically, educationally, and socially to ride these forces of peace and prosperity. However, it will require vigilance, not vengeance. And this is to everybody in power, that to get us out of the woods, to the executive, to the legislature, and the judiciary, it will require vigilance and not vengeance, diligence and not indolence, rectitude and not cynicism, purposeful perseverance and not desperation and despair. Before I go to elaborate on the steps citizens need to take to ensure that separation of powers works for the people, let me give you a few examples of people's power, where those who fail to respect for are to be accountable under the separation of powers were themselves separated from power. We should expect more of these in the age of technology, globalization, and climate change. I start with the Arab Spring and the tyrannical regimes for decades seemed so entrenched. A fruit seller setting fire on himself in an act of protest ignited a revolution that brought the dictator president Ben Ali's 23 years rule in Tunisia to an end in less than 23 days. It spread like fire across the Arab world. It took a blogger employing Google technology to outwit, outsmart, and outlast the Arab world. And outlast the Arab world's best military and intelligence service to topple Mubarak's 30-year iron grip on Egypt to an endless 30 days after the people occupied the Tahrir Square. Gaddafi met the ghastly hand he had meted out to others for 3 decades. Brave individuals, tired of fear, rose up and threw out the unelected and unaccountable tyrants. Tyrants separated from power by citizens, but precipitation turned yesterday's president to prime ministers. I'm sorry, I take that again. Tyrants separated from power by citizens, precipitation turned yesterday's president and prime ministers into today's prime prisoners. But it's not just tyrants that digitalize citizens. Precipitation can end. It can also remove the dark stains and symbols of oppression. Twitter and Facebook outrage, when Dylan Roof, a white supremacist, senselessly killed 9 black worshippers in a church in South Carolina in the USA, resulted in a permanent removal of the hatred Confederate flag, a symbol of slavery and racism that had hung proudly over the South Carolina State House of Assembly for over 150 years plus. It was an achievement the abolition of slavery and civil rights movement in the United States failed to achieve. The power of the citizens enhanced by technology and immediately accessible to almost all humanity, multiplies the power of one. It is the digital citizen's most reliable asset in holding each arm of government accountable. Nigerians must come out of their cocoons. In an unjust society, silence is a crime. We cannot have separation of powers and the type of democracy we need till Nigerians start speaking. Speak in the market square. Speak in churches. Speak in mosques. Speak in palaces without fear or favor. To all thieves in power. When I was growing up as a child, houses, even in the GRS, had no fences. Gradually, the situation became deteriorated. People started building their houses with fences. Tall fences started appearing from nowhere. When I was a child, the only place you see tall fences is either in a zoo or a prison yard. But the situation deteriorated. We started having broken bottles as barriers on our fences. It degenerated to barbed wire. Today, it is electric fence. The time to correct this satanic manifestation of thieves in power is now. So please, as you are sitting down, speak to your neighbor. Ben Mori Bruce, speak to Atiku Abubakar. Atiku Abubakar, speak to the governor of Anambra State. Tell him, be a change agent. Tell your neighbor now, be a change agent. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to get out of the woods, we must at all times speak the truth to power. We must speak the truth to people in authority. Today, we are where we are because of nepotism, tribalism, sectionalism, religious bigotry, and deliberate separation out of our egocentric and selfish interests. We must go back and look at our primary school curriculum. Today, we have nothing that binds us together. When you see Americans singing their national anthem, when they are playing football match, you see some of them crying because they understand what they are saying. But today, the only social disposition in our education sector is social studies. And what does it teach us? It teaches us about Jaja of Okwobo, Awolowo of Western Nigeria, Azikiwe of Eastern Nigeria, and Sardauna of Northern Nigeria. It has created ethnic consciousness even at that elementary level. The time to do away with tribalism is now. And that is why I'm calling on Nigerians to support my bill. That bill is canvassing for a stateless Nigeria, that instead of having state of origin, we should have state of residence, so that Emeka can contest election in Kano. And Nigerians will become one united body and group. Shortly after these events were unfolding, the Arab world, I will also give example how we started occupying Nigeria in 2012. On the 1st of January 2012, the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Goodluck Ebele Azikiwe Jonathan, increased the pump price of petroleum products. I took my chair to Eagle Square and I sent messages out on Twitter, on Facebook, and I said anyone who is aggrieved with this satanic increase should come and append his signature in protest against the policy of government. And people from all walks of life came that day and we started the registration. They rolled out tanks from the Brigade of Guards. We stood our ground. And before you know it, that same protest spread all over the country. And government was forced to bend their ways. Because those in power, including myself, must be told. President Buhari must be told. The Vice President must be told. Bukola Saraki must be told that power truly belongs to the people. Without belaboring us with unnecessary commentaries, rhetorics, and stories, like many who embarked on such journeys, I cannot say that I knew what would be the outcome of what we did at Eagle Square. I can only tell you that it comes from the values my parents instilled in me. It comes from the humble beginnings and privations I suffered as a child, and we as a family. It drives me every day, knowing that majority of my fellow countrymen live below poverty line. It keeps me awake at night, knowing that 1 out of every 4 Nigerians is living in water-stressed areas. They simply cannot get enough water. This is combined with population explosion, is putting greater and greater pressure on the land, on farmers and herders, with deadly and bloody consequences. That 1 out of every 3 Nigerians live in flood-prone areas, their lives ruined in minutes by a deluge. That poverty firsthand, being the first person in my family, I am the first Melaye to appear on the pages of newspaper. I took myself through school. I did menial job to sponsor myself. But I stood my ground because every Nigerian must decide to either walk in the light of crazy altruism or you perish in the darkness of destructive selfishness. So you have to decide today that you want a change for your community. Let it start from your family. Speak to power. We must get out of our cocoons. We must tell everyone that the future is for us, especially the young persons in this country. There is something dynamic and purposeful about your age bracket. You can use the energy, your population, to transform this country. You can decide, just like the Holy Book says, in the book of Joel, he said, in the last days I will pour my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy. He says, old men shall dream dreams. The implication of this is that after a very heavy load of pounded yam, you can see yourself and Donald Trump discussing. When you wake up, you find out you are still in Lugbe. That is what the Bible said there. He said, old men shall dream dreams. The next verse says, young men shall see vision. If you juxtapose, young men shall see vision, you will know that our Lord Jesus Christ lived on earth for 33 years. Today you can see his followership. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was called into prophethood at the age of 40. Today you can see his followership. Shakespeare wrote his most famous book at the age of 23. Isaac Newton propounded the law of motion at the age of 25. Bob Marley lived 31 years. Today we are all singing it. There is something dynamic about that age group. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. We must put together the energy of that group to take Nigeria out of the woods, so that those who are taking us back to the land of Egypt, we will tell them that Canaan is ahead of us. Careless remarks. Yes, technology and globalization have opened the world to us and us to the world. In so doing, they have made it both easier and harder to hold governments to account. Easier because of the speed at which information flows means that government can no longer assume citizens do not know. Harder because digital rigging, a term I first coined in 2011, was when alternative facts combine to create fictionalized reality from the fanatist narrative that we all call fake news. The ease at which fake news can be peddled and governments can employ legal tools, combining enforcement with co-opting a reluctant judiciary for barely legal ends to stifle opposition, is creating liberal democracies, or what one calls digitized dictatorship. Some have been effective in the world, others have led to catastrophe, as we observe in Syria. In the ultimate analysis, separation of powers or not, if government doesn't stand up for the average Nigerian, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will. If legislators don't represent us, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is what we should embrace, even with all its shortcomings. If the courts do not hear you, The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will hear you. The people of Romania stood up in defense of their rights to transparent and accountable government. They defended their constitutional rights to accountability. Their government had proposed a law to decriminalize corruption, which was to come into force February 10, 2017. Yes, you heard me. A law that would have made it legal to give bribes, provided they were less than 44,000 euros. The masses took over the streets and the squares of the capital. The government reversed its position. By February 10, the Minister of Justice had resigned. Every person counts. These people stood up against a draconian law. They stood their ground, government reversed the decision, and the Minister of Justice resigned. A man has been indicted by the National Assembly. He is still, Baba Chia Lawal, Secretary to Federal Government, he is still going up and down. We will resume and we will continue from where we stopped. No man is greater than the people. If you took an oath of office, you must respect that oath of office. If you betray that oath, no matter who you are, you should face the full wrath of the law. And democracy will now become what it's supposed to be, the government of the people. You have a digital megaphone. You have every right by virtue of your humanity and the land of your fathers and mothers to speak up. Represent yourself and be counted. It is precisely for this that the separation of powers exists. It is from such brave, righteous acts that progress has overcome inertia, overcome status quo, overcome entrenched interests, and assure that sweet victory we all know has always been within our gap. But for too long, had been put beyond our reach. Many people call me, especially in the National Assembly, they say you are from the APC and you seem to be speaking against the government. I took oath as Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and indeed Nigerians, comes before any political party. We must defend Nigerians first before we defend our political parties. Where is NRC today? Where is SDP today? Where is UPN or NPN? They have come and gone, but the people remain. So we will continue to speak, not minding whose horse is God. So I challenge everyone this evening to get out of your cocoon and be counted as an agent of change. If they refuse to separate powers, please listen to this, including myself in power, including the governor that is sitting in our midst, every senator, House of Representatives that is here. If we refuse to separate powers, I call on Nigerians to separate us from power. At the end of the day, no president, no vice president, no governor, no deputy governor is excellency or excellent until all Nigerians become excellent. No senator is distinguished until all Nigerians become distinguished. No honorable member is honorable until all Nigerians become honorable. Finally, before I leave, something happened in the United States of America. Martin Luther King said precisely on the 14th of February, 1963, he said, I have a dream that one day in the heights of Georgia, the sons and daughters of slave owners will sit with sons and daughters of slaves to decide the future of America. After that great march, today in the history of America, a black man lived in White House. The Americans sang a song that day, and after that song, America changed for good. I'm going to end by asking us to sing that same song. And I believe that we have the celestial and spiritual powers with the Oni of Ife in our midst here today. He will help to catapult this song to the celestial, and God will hear us and heal our land. So if you believe in the new Nigeria that is to come, if you believe that things can get better, You can join me in singing this same song Martin Luther King sang in 1963 during the Great March to Washington, D.C. It is very simple. I'm going to take it once, and we'll take it together the second time, and I'll bring this short, very short speech to a close. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome some. Can we take it together now? After the count of 2, including Atiku Abubakar, I'm watching his mouth. 1, 2. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome some. God bless Nigeria.